want you to think about your schedule right now. The jobs you have lined up, the calls you're making, the estimates you're running. It's busy, right? At least that's what it feels like. But let me ask you something. Is your bank account reflecting all that work? Is your stress level going down? Is your business actually growing? Or are you just running faster on the same hamster wheel? Here's what I see happening with contractors all over the country. They mistake being busy for being successful. Their calendars are full, but with what? Low margin jobs. Clients who haggle over every dollar. Projects that barely cover expenses. Work that keeps the lights on but doesn't build anything for the future. You're out there every day responding to lead notifications, racing to be the first one to call back, competing on price, explaining why quality costs more. And at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the season, what do you really have to show for it? Just enough to do it all over again next season. I'll look at the top contractors in your area. The ones everybody knows. The ones with the best projects. The ones who aren't scrambling. What are they doing differently? They're not running more ads. They're not spending more on marketing. And they're not working twice as many hours. They're just working with different people. While you're chasing hundreds of leads, they're sitting down with a handful of decision makers. While you're competing against 5 other bidders, they're getting projects without bidding at all. While you're explaining your price to skeptical homeowners, they're discussing scope with people who already trust their judgment. The difference isn't better SEO, it's not a fancier website, and it's not a faster response time. It's who they're working with and how those relationships were built. They've figured out something critical, something that changes everything. They know that path to growth isn't through more leads, it's through better relationships. Let's talk about what this lead chasing cycle is really costing you. First, there's the obvious stuff, the thousands spent on Google ads, the fees to lead services, the time wasted on tire kickers. But the real costs run deeper. There's the emotional toll, the constant uncertainty, and never knowing if next month will be a feast or famine. The stress of competing on price. The frustration of explaining your value over and over again. Then there's the opportunity cost. For every hour spent chasing dead-end leads, you're not building relationships that could bring steady work. You're not developing the connections that could lead to premium projects. And maybe, most importantly, there's the toll on your future. Because as long as you're stuck in this cycle, as long as you're dependent on the next lead notification, you don't have a business. You have a job. A demanding, unpredictable job that you've created for yourself. Here's the brutal truth. The longer you stay in this cycle, the harder it is to break free. Because while you're chasing leads, your competitors are building relationships. While you're competing on price, they're becoming trusted advisors. While you're explaining your value, they're demonstrating theirs. So ask yourself, is the pain of staying the same less than the pain of change? Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. The first step to breaking free is changing how you think about growth. It's not about getting more work. It's about getting the right work. It's not about being chosen. It's about doing the choosing. It's not about competing on price. It's about providing unique value. And most importantly, it's not about chasing leads. It's about building relationships. The moment you make this shift, everything changes. Your focus changes. Your actions change. Your results change. Because when you stop thinking like a vendor and start thinking like a partner, you position yourself differently in the market. You're no longer one of 5 bidders. You're the obvious choice. You're no longer selling to a commodity, you're providing a solution. This isn't just positive thinking. This is a strategic positioning. This is how the top contractors separate themselves. This is how they build businesses that grow year after year. And they understand that just because you can chase more leads doesn't mean you should. Let's talk about status for a minute. Because in business, perception is reality. When you're chasing leads, When you're racing to respond first, and when you're competing on price, you're playing a low-status game. You're positioning yourself as just another option, just another contractor hoping to win the job. But when you're building relationships, when you're sitting down with decision makers, when you're having real conversations about real projects, you're playing a high-status game. You're positioning yourself as a trusted advisor, as someone who brings value beyond just doing the work, as a professional who understands both the problem and the solution. And here's what changes when your status changes. Price becomes less important. Quality becomes more important. Your expertise becomes valuable and your time becomes respected. Property managers stop seeing you as a vendor to squeeze and you start seeing yourself as a partner to rely on. Homeowners stop comparing your quote to 3 others and start asking you, when can you start? Builders stop treating you as interchangeable and start including you in their planning. This isn't magic, this is business psychology. And this is how relationships change the game. This is how you break free from the commodity trap. So, how do we make this practical? How do we turn this mindset shift into actual results? It starts with getting in the right room with the right people at the right time. Instead of chasing 100 leads, you sit down with 5 decision makers. Instead of hoping someone chooses you, you choose who you want to work with. Instead of reacting to what comes in, you proactively build the pipeline you want. This is what we call the pipeline control, and it's the system that transforms contractor businesses. Imagine your calendar filled with meetings, not with tire kickers, but with property managers who oversee multiple properties, with builders who need reliable contractors, with designers who influence high-end projects. Imagine discussing scope and timeline, not price and discounts. Imagine planning long-term relationships, not one-off projects. This pipeline becomes predictable. This pipeline becomes profitable. This pipeline becomes the foundation of real business growth. Because when you control your pipeline, you control your business. You control your future. Let me tell you about Eric. He had 3 crews to manage, quality workmanship, and he was always busy, but stuck in the same trap as everyone else. Every morning, same routine, he'd check his leads and race to respond and hope to win. His crews were working, but his business wasn't just growing, it was spinning faster. And then one day he looked at his best clients, the ones who sent him the work again and again, the ones who never asked about price, and he noticed something. None of them came from leads. None of them came from ads. They all came from relationships. That was his breakthrough moment. While everyone else was focused on cost per lead, he focused on the value of relationships. While everyone else was trying to lower their ad spend, he invested in meaningful connections. And within 3 months of making this shift, Eric wasn't just booking better projects, he was booking them further in advance. He wasn't just making more money, he was making it more predictably. His stress level went way down. His profit margin way up. And his future was finally under his control. Or take Sarah, a landscape designer with dreams of bigger projects, but trapped in the cycle of one-off residential jobs. She was good, her clients loved her work, but she couldn't break through to the premium market. She couldn't land those contracts that would transform her business, and then she changed her approach. Instead of marketing to everyone, she targeted specific relationships. Instead of chasing more leads, she focused on meaningful connections. 6 months later, the preferred designer for 2 property management companies, she's collaborating with architects on custom homes, and she's planning a project a year in advance. The difference wasn't working harder, it wasn't better marketing, it was just better relationships. This is why we created the Guaranteed Meeting System, a simple approach with profound results. Every month, you sit down with decision makers who can actually send you work. Not leads, not prospects. Real decision makers, real projects. Not competing on price and no racing to respond. No wasted estimates. Just meaningful conversations with the right people about the right kind of work. Property managers looking for reliable contractors. Custom home builders needing quality partners. Commercial property owners planning improvements. High-end residential designers seeking collaborators. These aren't cold calls and these aren't tire kickers. These are curated connections. These are relationship opportunities. And when you're the only contractor in that room, when you're building real relationships, when you're creating actual trust, everything changes. Your calendar becomes more predictable. Your projects more profitable. Your stress level goes way down. No more morning panic. No more racing to respond. And no more competing on price. Just steady work from people who value what you do, who respect your craft, who send you more jobs. Think about where you'll be 3 months from now when you've built these relationships, when you've established this trust, when you're the go-to contractor for the right kind of work. So now you're at a crossroads. The path forward is clear. You can keep playing the lead game, keep chasing notifications, keep competing on price, and keep hoping for callbacks. Or you can transform your approach and start building relationships, start controlling your pipeline, and start harnessing your meetings. The question isn't whether this works. The proof is all around you. The top contractors in your area aren't the best marketers. They're the best at relationship builders. The question is whether you're ready to break the cycle and ready to stop chasing and start choosing. Ready to build a business rather than book jobs. Because here's the truth. The pain of staying the same will eventually exceed the pain of change. Whether that happens this season or next, 5 seasons from now is entirely up to you. Just because you can keep doing what you've always done doesn't mean you should. If you're ready to transform your business, if you're ready to stop chasing and start choosing, if you're ready for guaranteed meetings with qualified prospects, the next step is simple. Like this video, subscribe to our channel for more contractor strategies, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video on building premium contractor relationships. Drop a comment below with any ideas that and let me know if you're done with lead services. Share this with a contractor who needs to hear this message, and click the link in the description to learn more about how to get started with guaranteed meetings. Your future self will thank you.